And we're live from Studio 5. Welcome, everyone, to the Renew You podcast here in Angleton, Texas, home of the Wildcats. How's it going, babe?
Great. Did we say last week I don't have to hold my microphone so close?
We like when you hold it close because it makes my job in post-production 100 times easier because you don't have to talk as loud and there's less echo in this non-sound treated podcast studio. No, not really. You're talking over it and not into it. Yeah. But in Angleton as it is in heaven. That's what really got me on the Angleton kick today.
I'm really stressed now about how to hold this microphone.
No, you're doing great now. We are in Holy Homes, week 2. How's your home?
Getting holier. Wait, that actually doesn't sound good because we said identify holes in your nets.
That's true.
So you could, if it's going really bad, you could still say it's getting holier.
It's getting holier. It's like when you wear holy jeans or a holy shirt and someone says, you got on your holy pants today.
I don't know if that's ever happened to me.
Isn't that interesting how distressed denim is not in at all right now? You don't see very much distressed denim.
I also didn't know that.
Like a decade ago, you saw a ton of distressed denim. You don't really see a lot of distressed denim. I mean, sometimes, but it's not near as big as it was. Interesting. Or maybe I'm just old.
I do think you've changed your style, so it could just be you.
Okay. Well, we are on week 2. This week we talked about rhythms, and here's the angle I want to take the podcast for. Are you ready? You got your seatbelt buckled? I was thinking about the different people in the audience, which probably isn't our listeners, but maybe our listeners could send this to somebody who was thinking those rhythms are impossible for me. Because I was thinking about people that maybe have difficult work schedules or changing work schedules or are in maybe families where they work 2 very different schedules. And so I kind of wanted to start there and wanted to work from the premise of the reality that you don't have to establish the exact rhythms that I said, but I do think it's important that we establish some rhythms in our home because we want to cultivate relationship with the Holy Spirit.
You still have something in your teeth from breakfast?
Oh, good. Is it? It's not noticeable. Nobody can see it because it's behind a mic.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it out now. I'm very self-conscious.
In between your 2 bottom teeth?
In between my Invisalign. But yeah, you just totally took my train of thought.
Sorry,
but really what I was going to say is I was thinking about that kind of person that would say that's easier for you to say because of your schedule, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to talk about that today, that it's really about just finding your rhythm. And because what's more important on the planet than knowing the Holy Spirit in an intimate way and having his presence in your life? I would submit to you, if you went all the way down and tried as hard as you could and said, I'm too busy to find any rhythms in my life to develop relationship with the Holy Spirit, I would say that you're probably too busy, that you probably need to say no to something else, even if that costs you something. But I don't think most of us are in that situation. I think most of us, we could find a rhythm that worked for us in our season of life, in our real life that would work. I think that's one thing. And 2, the second thing that I think is focus on quality, not quantity. So I may have said some stuff on Sunday and you may have said, that if I had that amount of quantity of time, I would make that rhythm. But don't focus on the quantity. Focus on the rhythms, the daily, the weekly, the seasonally, the annually, and focus on not the quantity of time you can give each of those, but the quality of time that you can give each of those. So that's a couple preliminary thoughts. And then the last preliminary thought I have is just to remember that God's grace is so good. And maybe you only have 10 minutes a day that you could set aside for whatever reason. God's grace is so good. If you set aside 10 really, really, really quality moments aside a day to connect with your family or your community and with him, you would, if you did that consistently, his grace would multiply that time. He can take our little and do a lot. And then the last thing is to remember when it comes to the presence of the Holy Spirit, he's technically with you all the time, everywhere. We're trying to find rhythms that help us be more aware of that so that we can engage with him all the time, everywhere, more often. I'll leave you that foundation, and now you can go, baby.
No, I was just going to say, I do think you have to be careful, though, saying, like, oh, if you can't create a whole new rhythm, just start with 10 minutes. Because people with personalities like yours, that's really great. People with personalities like mine, that's not great to hear, because I'll be like, oh, you're telling me the bare minimum I can do is 10 minutes? Great. I'll just do the bare minimum then. Or it's like the same. It's like, oh, you really should work out an hour a day, but just 15 minutes a day of brisk walking is healthy. And it's like, oh, then I'm definitely just brisk walking for 15 minutes. So I do think, like, yes, that is true. Like, if it's just absolutely like a gridlock because it's your job that you can't lose, or it's, I don't know what else it would be that just had that big of a lock on your schedule. Or maybe it's like, okay, yes, your shift is 12 hours and not 9.5. But then even still, you still have 4 hours between. Even if you slept 8 hours, you still have 4 hours. Say it takes you 30 minutes to get to work and back, and then you still have 3 hours, which is still shooting for something better than 10 minutes. So I would just say, like, don't just settle for, oh, if I can't make these rhythms work the way I'm being encouraged to, okay, I'll just, like, give it a little 10. Still look for, like, what's the greatest you can give it. Because realistically, if you work a 12-hour shift, you live 30 minutes away, you can still give those rhythms 3 hours with 8 hours of sleep. And some adults only need 7. So you have some wiggle room there too. But I just think, like, that's important to say, because even you said that too at the end of your message on Sunday of, okay, and, you know, even if you can't apply this, but I do think we should all walk out of here trying to apply it. And then if we really can't figure out how to make it work, we ask for somebody to look at it with us, and we get a fresh perspective. Hey, this is my schedule. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I have to say yes to. Can you help me find some wiggle room? And then if that person's like, no, you really do only have 3 hours, okay, then I work with what I have. But I do think it's important to always try to lean into the Holy Spirit. And if the Holy Spirit's saying this is your moment to reorganize some things in your life, to be willing to push for more than just the 10 minutes that I can make work.
No, yeah. You go for it.
But that's just how my personality
hears it. You let them know, babe.
It.
You tell them. No excuses.
And I'm sure everyone in the church is better than me, and everyone's like, oh, he doesn't mean 10 minutes. He means,
no, I don't. Like, I
that's
don't mean
literally
10
my
minutes.
Personality. You're like, if you could do 10 minutes, I'm like, cool, sounds good. I'd rather do that. It's easier.
No, you're right. I don't mean necessarily 10 minutes. But what I am saying is, you're right. I do think that most of the time we don't really assess where all of our time is going. I'm curious, and maybe we'll send this out as a practice tomorrow. I'm curious if we mapped out everything we did. I remember when I was doing sales, I had a period where I was having a hard time doing sales. I was having a hard time really getting into a rhythm. And so literally I went through a phase of like a month where I tracked every single minute of my day at work. And when you first start doing that and you realize how many minutes in a day you waste, it is wild. And so I do think you're right. I think it would be cool to have people really track their time, really assess their time, and find quality time in different gaps. Maybe you only have an hour in the evening where you're all together. Okay, well, let's focus that quality time on us. But you probably have minutes throughout your day, whether it's in the car, whether it's at lunch, if it's in the bathroom, if that's the only place you got.
That's like more of a male thing, I think.
But
I don't think most people go to the bathroom that long compared to.
Shower too. I'm saying anything. I'm just saying you probably can find some time to develop really good rhythms. And I would submit this, you probably already have rhythms. Like you probably already have a rhythm of waking up, checking your phone, going, getting stuff ready, getting out the house, getting to work, doing something when you first sit down. And probably within those rhythms, you can find some gaps where there's time that isn't being stewarded the best. And you could probably adjust that and steward it back to a holy rhythm for your home.
Yeah. And I think if we were to do the practice of tracking our time, it doesn't just show you time you waste. It shows you how much you might be doing something that you didn't know you were doing something that much. Even like I remember when we were in the thick of youth pastoring, there was one week my dad was like, hey, track how many hours y'all are working. I just am curious. And it was like 87 hours or something, because we were having team nights and Bible studies and Wednesdays, and they were coming over to our house, and then we were doing Sunday mornings, and I would have just said we were working 40 hours. I had no clue, and it wasn't a bad thing. And honestly, in that season, we had the capacity for it, and our family was oriented around it, and it didn't need to change. But things that are good to know. I mean, how much time are we spending doing these things that we're assuming is one way, but really is another?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's good just to be aware of, I mean, you hopefully know where you spend your money. We have somebody in our family that keeps track of that.
That's me.
You hopefully know.
Speaking of, I need to schedule a meeting with you for sometimes.
You hopefully know where your children are at right now.
Hopefully school. Hopefully where we left them.
You morning. Hopefully know how you're going to provide food for yourself tonight. Like, if it matters to you, you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we take time for granted, for sure. Yeah, so I think that's one thing. I like that conversation, because on one side it's saying, hey, you find your rhythm, and on another side it's saying, hey, step up to the plate and raise the standard, and don't settle for less than maybe you can have. You know? I bet they didn't hear that, but if they did, cool.
Sorry, guys.
The next part I wanted to kind of transition to is talking a little bit about the 4 different rhythms that we talked about on Sunday. The first rhythm was evening and day, and really I love that idea of how much better could our days be if we viewed dinner every day as a fresh start to sit down, have a meal, and to get ready for the day that's ahead. I think that's a beautiful opportunity. And I posted on my Instagram story today trying to help people go watch evening and day rhythm recaps. By the way, shout out rhythm recaps. We'll put the text message thing you can text in the information below. But this morning's was on evening and day, and I was thinking about the reality of the rhythm of working out for me. And for 24 straight weeks, almost half a year. Next week will be half a year. Started in March, and for 24 weeks, 26 weeks is half a year. 2 weeks will be half a year. 52 weeks in a year. 164 trips to the gym, I believe. But what I realized is that it was the rhythm at the end that began to establish a new. Are you okay? You're falling apart over here.
My yawn wasn't on camera, but then I realized it was.
Wowzers. Okay.
Sorry.
You're really, really distracting me. So what I realized is that the end of my workout, having the sauna and the cold plunge to look forward to at the end of every workout, has been one of the main things that has kept me coming back over and over and over and over again.
I'm just thinking about our gym membership. Okay, continue.
And I love that, because it's like the end of the day every time reminds me of, I want to come back here again tomorrow. And it's like almost like the end of something can be, if you do it the right way, it's like you can have a pretty decent meal, and then they can bring out like the best dessert you've ever had, and you're probably going to rate that restaurant way higher, because the end can just set you up for so much anticipation and expectation. So I just think how we end our day matters, and I think sleep matters. I've actually been sleeping. Are you proud of me? Yes. I mean, you've got to be proud of me. I have not been on my phone at night.
I know, it's good.
Like, for how many weeks? I mean, it's been pretty. I mean, I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I've tried to do this multiple times in our marriage, and maybe I just need to preach about stuff, because then I feel like a hypocrite if I don't do it. So that's the key. Just preach a sermon series about what I'm terrible at, and then I'll eventually fix it. But it's amazing how much sleep can do. It's amazing how getting up earlier. I mean, I thought about it this morning. This morning, before the workday ever started, I had talked to my kids. I had got a little bit of work done. I had worked out. I had ate breakfast. I had made a mean cortado with great latte art. I had read my Bible. I had prayed. that was like all before 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it all was because we went to bed last night at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, which I'm a big fan of. So thank you, Holy Homes. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go to bed at 8:30.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, I feel like we've been more consistent about this in this fall season. What do you think have been some things that would be great tips for other people, or things that you have really loved about this season?
With our rhythms?
Yeah.
I think it's really important, or it's a game changer when everybody's on the same page. It's been hard in the past when one of us really wants to buckle down into a rhythm and the other one doesn't. And then right when that person gets over it, the other person's finally like, yeah, I agree, let's do it. And then it can be hard to try to integrate something into your family life when the adults aren't on board. The kids are probably just never gonna get on board, and that's fine. It's parenting. But I think that's important, that if somebody has the ability to do it like in resolution with their partner, that really does make a difference. I totally get that in some cases that's not possible. One thing I did want to talk about really quick, and then remind me what we're talking about, I guess. I was thinking one of the rhythms that probably happens a lot in our church family is families where children are with one parent sometimes and then with another parent other times. So we're talking about creating rhythms for your family, and the reality is you might have your kids Monday through Friday and then you don't have them on the weekend, or you might have them one weekend and then not the next weekend. And so that can present an additional challenge in trying to create a rhythm because things are always changing. But I was just thinking, like, what would my counsel be to somebody who it's like, I'm trying to get a rhythm, but then they leave and then they don't have any rules, or then they leave and then they're on a completely different sleep schedule, or then they leave and then they are allowed to do this, that, and whatever. I would just say, like, the verse that has the resolution, it says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that's the reality, is that you have dominion over your home. And you don't have dominion over the home that your kids go into.
That's good.
And is that great? No, but it's the truth of the reality that you live in.
You have to deal with the reality of the situation, not the ideal situation.
Sure.
And I think of even one of the people that we know that has had that situation in the past, and there's kind of it's a different type of rhythm when you make the determination that you're talking about for when you're at this house, this is how we're doing it. There's kind of a rhythm of like the first couple of days from talking to them, like it's rough. Yeah. And then you kind of get back into it the last couple of days, and so maybe it's even that you just start. I think what you deal with the reality of what the rhythm kind of is, and you have in that situation have a lot of grace for the children in the situation, because the reality is that this isn't shame and condemnation. It's just observation. Like, they're dealing with a broken system. And so I think having a lot of grace and empathy for them too, and being patient with them is key. And
even if they're with you for 5 days, just know, okay, we're not setting the same rhythm for 5 days. We're going to need 2 days at the beginning to just decompress from the house that they came out of and to reintegrate. So we're going to have a 2-day rhythm and then a 3-day rhythm. That's still a rhythm. Then there's an expectation that, okay, when you get home Sunday night and Monday night, it looks like this. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it looks like this. And it allows them to, like you said, have the grace to jump in, but also allows you to have the grace as a parent not to just be so frustrated because you're dealing with the reality of, like, I sent this kid away one way and I keep getting him back a different way. And two, going deeper than that and just starting to really focus on teaching our children, hey, you're the same though no matter where you go. And you have to determine what we're doing because it's healthy, because this is what God's leading us into, and what you can carry. Like, if you talk one way at dad's house and talk a different way at mom's house, you need to determine which way of speaking is the godly way. And you need to carry that way of speaking in whichever house you go into. So you might not have control over their schedules or over their rhythms in the other place, but teaching them it's not just mom's way or dad's way. It's we're trying to do something the Lord's way. And it helps them not to become divided kids. It helps them to be consistent, stable kids and deal even a little bit better on their end with expectations in either play.
Yeah. And that's probably difficult. I'm sure, like, if you tell a kid, hey, do it God's way, they probably,
Sure.
I mean, they're probably going to have plenty of things to come back with on that, but especially if they're a teenager. But I do think you're just responsible for doing the best you can with what you got and trying to lead them in the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great talking point. And I think one of the most important points there is that you determine your rhythm.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to need a rhythm that you're going to be responsible for. Because if they see you, even if it's not when they're a teenager or a young adult, even if it's later on in life, but if they see you over decades have a consistent rhythm that's producing the fruit of the Holy Spirit, at the very least, eventually they're going to respect that. But if you're trying to get them to do a rhythm that is not producing any fruit in your life, they are probably going to just constantly, they're just going to think it's hypocritical, you know? So I think that's one of the most important things, is determine also first, like, what's your rhythm going to be when they're not there and when they're there, you know?
Yeah, and that is important. We don't just give up rhythms whenever things change. So if you travel for work, or if you're the one who's at home while your kids are not there, and then you have the house to yourself, that doesn't mean no rhythms. That means I need a different rhythm, because we just established that the point of rhythms is to meet with the Holy Spirit. So we don't say, well, I'm going on a work trip, so I'll talk to him when I get back.
Yeah.
It's got to pick up wherever we go.
Yeah, and rhythms are just the system that give us the structure for us to grow in a certain direction. They're just the trellis in John 15 that we talked about on Sunday. They are simply a means to an end, and the end is that we would abide in God and experience the fullness of his joy as he abides in us. So that's why they're important. The second rhythm was a weekly rhythm, and we're gonna talk about that on Holy Home's resources this week. But a weekly rhythm of a weekly Sabbath, and I think that looks different in every season. For us, it looks so different in so many seasons. What most people would use as a Sabbath day is one of our biggest work days of the week, so it doesn't really work for a Sabbath. And then what sometimes feels like yours and mine's Sabbath is Monday, but the boys aren't there, and I want to teach them the principle of rest and delighting in God. And so really Friday night is more of like their Sabbath, and sometimes Saturday until sports start up. So
and you're not home
sometimes on Saturday.
Saturday.
A little bit. So that is a constantly changing rhythm. I think more than anything, man wasn't made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. I think more than anything, we live under the new covenant. It's more of a practice to once again be a structure to help us to experience more of the fullness of God. So I think finding a weekly rhythm where you can experience that and delight in God is important. But it can shift in different seasons. I feel like right now Saturdays are a pretty good day where we mostly, like this Saturday was a pretty, other than what I came up here for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So in those 3 hours, we pretty much rested and had moments with the boys and ate food and had some fun. Labor Day felt like a Sabbath for sure because it was a holiday. But what are some tips around creating a weekly rhythm of having some food, some fun, some fellowship, some friends and family?
I think it can look different every week. Like some weeks that might look just the four of us. Some weeks that might look like the four of us and having people over. I think as long as you're doing it together, and I also think as long as you're turning off some of the outside noise, what I think makes or breaks our Sabbath is our phones, mostly because our phones go off with work stuff 7 days a week. And so putting those up and saying, okay, if there's an emergency, everyone knows where we live, somebody will come get us.
I actually do way better with that than you do.
Yeah.
I'll lock my phone up and say, I'm not God.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my dad to get a lung transplant.
Yeah, but even when you weren't waiting for your dad to get a lung transplant, I would like not take my phone on vacation, and you'd be like,
oh yeah, vacation, no way, because I'm too scared of getting lost.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That's my worst nightmare. I hate that you do that. But it's healthy for you, so I'm glad. But also scary. But I do think that's important, like being, what did you say this morning? Unreachable?
Oh yeah, that's one of Levi Lusko had this quote that I thought was just super good. He said, if you are never out of the reach of people, you probably are out of the reach of God. Mm. And like obviously the point is God can always reach us. The point is that if you are always aware of other people's needs and always distracted by other people, you're probably not aware of how God is trying to reach out to you.
Which you have to be careful with that, because then you have Jesus, who everyone's like, I can't believe you're working on the Sabbath, and he's like, it's not lawful for me to heal somebody.
But his point from that was from Jesus. His point from that was that Jesus would, in that case, if you are in such demand as Jesus, which none of us are, but if you are in that demand, then Jesus, it was more important for Jesus than to prioritize getting up before anybody else was up to go be out of reach of people, because he needed his Father. Yeah,
that's what I would guess that's just what I'm saying, of like, there's that dynamic of for that window being unreachable, but it's also probably like, there is probably a dynamic, depending on your life and depending on what the Lord has you doing, that it is better to plan those unreachable moments like in the quiets of your day.
Yeah, for sure. And his point more is like, if you can't go on a 30-minute prayer walk, like without your phone, because you need to be so connected to the world, then you probably have too much noise to really connect with God.
Right.
So his point wasn't, I mean, because obviously, like, yeah, if you're on a prayer walk and you see a guy beaten left for dead on the side of the road, you don't go, sorry, this is my out of reach moment. I'm on my Sabbath. No, you do what you do what the Bible commands, and you help. So yeah, but back to weekly rhythm. I do just think finding a weekly moment to just slow down more than anything. And I love one of the quotes I read about Sabbath is, it's taking a moment in your week to do things that are not about performance and are not about distraction. It's about simply just being and finding moments to delight in God. And I think most of us don't have very many moments in our week where we are not performing or not distracted. And so taking an intentional time to say, this is a moment in my week, even if I'm down with the Sabbath, even just being an evening, to take an evening and say, for this evening, for these 3 hours as a family, as a single person, whatever it is, for these 3 hours, these are the 3 hours where I'm not performing and I'm not distracted. I'm doing something intentionally to delight in the goodness of God, whether that's food with people, whether that's something fun and thanking God for it, whether it's going to church, whether it's listening to a podcast and thanking the Lord for wisdom, whatever it is. But it's intentional and it's focused, and it's at some point really delighting in the victory that God has given you, I think is the most important part, to reset your focus. Next is seasonal rhythms. And seasonal rhythms, we're in a seasonal change right now. Fall, it's a great time if you're watching this to actually sit down, and you could do a seasonal one right now with your family. The biggest thing with seasonal one, I think, is just going, what has changed and how do we best find it? You know, one of the greatest things in seasonal rhythm this year for us is one day I just finally realized we were doing like a different thing with the kids every morning and stuff like that the first like week of school, or we were like, I was waking up late and stuff like that. You were getting them ready. And I was just like, what if we changed up and you take them to school, I work out during that time, and then I'll go pick them up from school and you can have that time. And just that rhythm has helped me, because in the summer I was working out at lunchtime, and that was great for the summer because we sleep in a little bit later. The kids are at the house. Graham didn't leave the house. His Addie would come there. So during the summer, lunch was perfect. But then when school started, lunch was terrible. So that seasonal rhythm has helped me a ton, and it's even helped with like the office and workflow and everything. So yeah, that's kind of how I view seasonal times, is it's times to sit down and go, hey, is there a better way to do this with everything that's changed? Is there a better way to do this that brings more peace and gives us the chance to grow more? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think some families go through busy seasons and calm seasons, and it might not be coinciding with the weather outside. It might be different sports seasons, or like I have a travel season, like January through March. I'm gone like 8 times. So that just is a different season. And it's good to be able to see that ahead of time, because then you know the pain of that season is short-lived. Like January through March is a lot on our kids, but then April comes and we can do family stuff again, and we are all 4 together again, and we can take a vacation. And so seeing the seasons also gives you, I think, the grace you need to be able to get through the seasons. Beautiful. When they're tougher.
Yeah. And that's a great point. That's why I love the word seasons, is because sometimes it's just a season. And one of the things I said in the marriage deal that we did, because we had so many people that had schedules that were super hard for them to connect, is I said, I would definitely sit down and evaluate what is a season and what has become our standard or a cycle. Like, I do think that God calls us to some seasons where it's like, I mean, youth pastoring was one of those things. We did way more in a week outside of work hours, youth pastoring, than we do now, just because of the nature of it and how it works. There was a grace for that in that season. Mm-hmm. But if that was a cycle for our entire life, I don't know if we could do that for our entire life. So I think there's a reality of asking the Lord, okay, Lord, in this season, have you called me to this to be able to get resource? The reason I say that is because with some of the jobs that people work, they have very demanding schedules, but they also have very good pay for what they are. So maybe if you are able to sit back and say, Lord, is this job a season in my life? Okay, if this job's a season in my life, then maybe this job is supposed to help me build up a storehouse for a different standard for my life after this season. Yeah. So if you have that ability to have that wisdom and that foresight to know why the Lord has you in this place for this season, then what is just supposed to be a season won't turn into a life cycle, where you have a lot of people stuck in life cycles that they never have the space to be fully intimate with their family and the Lord, how the Lord maybe desires for them to be. So I think that's a really good key on a season. Some things are just a season. And if I can look and see them, then I can get through just a season. And then on top of that, now I have a purpose for this season. So now it's not just like, this is just this job I have to do because it pays me well. But it's no, I'm here for this season, for this purpose, because the Lord set me up for this season or for this cycle. Mm-hmm. And now I'm stewarding that differently. So I just think that's important to really look at what season am I in, and to define this is just a season or this is going to be a cycle. If it's a cycle, then I need to figure out, okay, Lord, how do we live with this cycle, or how do I live with this cycle? If it's just a season, I may be willing to take on more in just a season if I know that the Lord's calling me to that season. Yeah. And that's really what I was talking about with sports on Sunday as well, just really quickly, is mostly my heart for that was just to say, I think a lot of us fill up our schedule just because we think it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Because we think, well, if I'm a bad parent, if I don't put my kid in all these sports, and I've got to give my kid every shot possible, and I've got to give, and we can cover up the reality of that going, I'm just a good parent, I just have a good heart. But the reality is that, have you slowed down to ask the Lord? Yeah. Because sometimes we provide opportunities for our kids, and our kids the Lord doesn't really desire that they have all those opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay to say. Yeah. And then, you know what? There are some Tim Tebows in the world. And honestly, even for my life, like I think God gave my family grace and gave me grace to do baseball how I did baseball. I think God can give grace for certain seasons where maybe you are doing a lot and the schedule's very full, but the Holy Spirit's in it and you're ministering to people in different spaces and different things. And it's not necessarily in the context, you're not maybe in the church building as much, but you really are being the church and you're still connected to community. But really my heart was just to say, have you even asked the Lord? Like, have you asked the Lord if you're supposed to have all 5 of your kids on 2 different sports teams during the fall and the spring and run to 17 practices a week? Like, have you just asked him? And if you've asked him and you go, this is our family, this is what the Lord's doing, and we're reaching people on the sports fields, and we're healthy, and the Holy Spirit's in it, go for it. Have at it. Mm-hmm. But just ask him. Yeah. You know? It's really good. Any thoughts on that? Mm-mm. Not feeling it? Mm-mm. And then the last one was annual.
I feel like this is one we're the worst at.
But I also think our season shifted here recently. With
just our seasonal rhythm.
No, but I think stepping into being senior pastors, I think getting a little bit of a rhythm now, getting a little bit of a pace. I think even with like the church calendar and the rhythm, you know, when we were doing high school and young adults, we were both doing two separate things. We were both, I mean, high school has a very much weird rhythm. Like high school, the big moment is summer and spring break. So it's like you're already shifting the calendar a little bit. I do think in the new rhythm, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to sit down and say, okay, what is God's vision for our family in 2026? And I would even maybe submit this, possibly. I'm not even saying maybe we should sit down and do this in August. I would almost submit if you have children in school / you are like a coach or a teacher, it may be best to just sit down annually in like July instead of January. Because when you think about it, January is a weird time to sit down within a calendar year if you have kids or you're like a teacher or a coach. Because your year really starts in August.
I feel like if though you're single or you live alone, that's like the ideal time.
Right, for sure.
A lot of resourcing and motivation around
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, or if you have like young adult children or anything like that. But yeah.
Even like empty nesters.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely ideal in those situations. Yeah.
And too, it kind of is like when you can make some space for it.
Yeah, it is true. The holidays make it, in some ways the holidays make it nice. In some ways the holidays make it more cluttered.
Depends on how you do holidays, I guess. I feel like we do pretty chill holidays.
Yeah, for sure. But I think at some point annually you should just be sitting down just to take an extended period of time to pray. And really what I would say is just seek the Lord. Lord, what's this next year look like? And I would really even say like it's kind of, the annual one is kind of like the big questions. Like, God, are we where we're supposed to be? Are we doing what we're supposed to be? I think, I'll say it this way. I think a lot of people are serving places in church just because they've done it like for 10 years or are doing a certain job just because they've done it for 10 years or whatever. And it's like, have you ever just taken time to ask the Lord, am I still supposed to be doing this? Or do I just do this because it's what I do? Yeah. And he could say absolutely yes. You know, when I asked him that with baseball the first time, it was like, yeah, stay in baseball. And then eventually it was time to stop doing baseball. But I think some people maybe stay longer in things than they're supposed to be staying just because it's just what they do. Yeah. And it's not like actually I intentionally, there's a difference in this is what I do and the Lord has asked me to do this year. And I just think every year you should have an annual check with yourself of like, let's say, I even think for us as like pastors, like every year, like, Lord, am I still supposed to be doing this? I think he's going to say yes, especially at this point in it. But are we still supposed to be doing this? Yeah. And
that would just be so wild.
But if you get the yes from the Lord, right? It's like, okay, now I know, like, man, the Lord's with me. I'm just imagining
what would happen if the Lord was like, no.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But I just think it's like okay. It's the whole thing of, Lord, I don't want to go without you. Yeah. No. Like I don't want to go back into this without you. I don't want to just do this because it's what I do. I want to do this because I'm called by God.
And it's not only a way out, it's also a way in, like to stay in.
Yeah.
Because like I've been in seasons before we even moved here, I was like, can I leave? And the Lord's been like, no. Yeah. I'm like, no, it seems like a great time to leave. And the Lord wouldn't let me. It wasn't time to change seasons. So I think it can go both ways.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, so those are some rhythms.
This feels like it's been really long.
I was literally just about to say, this has been the longest Renew You podcast probably ever. We're really coming for Joe Rogan's job. No, I'm just kidding. It hasn't even been close to a Joe Rogan podcast.
I don't know. I guess I know who that is.
Joe Rogan, he's just the biggest podcaster on the planet. So
I'm not going to lie. I listened to this podcast, John Christ, and Trey Kennedy. So us in comedy.
Shows where your priorities lie. Yeah. But yeah, let's see if we have any questions, just really quick.
Okay.
Why not?
I'm scared to check my phone.
My phone has a lot of text.
I know. I was going to say, I don't know how I will. Let's see.
We need like one of those.
I know. Are we going to cut this?
No, it's fun. Nobody likes us. Nobody wants to ask us questions.
I really shouldn't be doing that.
No questions. We're good. Nobody asked them, which we did throw that out a little bit late, but I thought it'd be fun.
Did you check my Facebook?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
All right.
I have notifications. You sure? Oh.
Check it.
Nope. Yep. Just
Well, no questions, which means that we have a church that knows it all.
really encouraging.
I'm just kidding.
Can you cut down how long it took us to be looking for questions? Can you edit that down?
It's fine. If somebody lasted that long in the podcast, they deserve to get to this point. And what I want to tell them is,
come to dinner at our house.
Come to dinner at our house. We'll take another batch of people. If you comment on this one,
if you comment on the last one, we're not ignoring you.
No, we are about to send out a text after this.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we said that, remember?
Do we pick
on
a
the
date?
way over here? We'll pick a date. We got 3 families.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to come over to dinner, I hate doing that to my nose, but it was itching so bad. I'm so sorry you had to just witness that. If you want to come to dinner, comment right now. And other than that, we have Holy Homes Week 3. We're going to be talking about responsibility, mission, calling. And then Lex is in the saddle for Week 4.
Maybe.
I've already committed you now. Lex is in the saddle for Week 4. And yeah.
Wait, I had a funny message title I did in my head. What was it? Oh, I'll have to think of it. I can't remember. I should have written it down. I'll think of it.
All right. She's going to think of it. We love you. Just keep showing up. Talk to you soon. Peace.